guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is the 28th of July, 2019.
We're going to get into, now Boris Johnson is Prime Minister. What does that mean? What's going to happen? I'm going to play some of his speech as well. But I wanted to start out with this. Sajid Javid, the new Chancellor of the Exchequer, I don't have to say that very well. He says there should be no doubt that Britain is leaving the European Union on October 31st, and Her Majesty's Treasury is now turbocharging its preparations for a no-deal Brexit in case the bloc refuses to improve on the deal offered to Theresa May. Mr. Javid's approach contrasts starkly with that of his predecessor on Britain's ad hoc finance minister. Now, did he put all Brexiteers? I watched an interview with Rees-Mogg. Yes, he put all current people who will put forth a Brexit, but he said there are people who voted Remain in the cabinet, but they are for getting through Brexit now.
To pushing Brexit.
So that he did wipe the cabinet clean.
Yeah. He replaced 2/3 of the cabinet, which is really
with people
huge.
who will produce Brexit. Not necessarily they want it, but they will produce it.
Right.
So you have Javid here saying that his approach is different than the Phil Remainer Hammond, who favored an ultra soft Brexit in name only, or the Brino, which would have left the country subject to the EU's customs union and the single market regime. I'm very excited about Brexit because I think it's more than just, there's a spiritual component to letting go of the EU and becoming your own country again. So that is why we talk about it so much. And that's why I feel like there's even more hope after Brexit to continue to build up the UK apart from the European Union. And I really believe, and I have some good news to tell you about. I think some things, once they are separated from the EU's rules and laws, I think that sanity will come back on migration, on Christian principles even, and freedom of speech, and a lot of those things will come back. And I think what we want is, I think that what a lot of people don't understand, or Boris Johnson doesn't understand, or a lot of people don't get, is that there's a surge of the gospel happening right now. And I don't think that the UK is going to be left behind in this. I know it's happening in Poland and in Hungary and in Italy and in Brazil and a lot of places. But I think that we don't have the correct term for Christian bigotry, like you do anti-Semitism or Islamophobia.
Right.
There needs to be a Christian phobia and some sort of like a word for it that it puts power behind it. Because when you, I have a video of a Christian guy here in America who was putting ads out for his veterans rehabilitation rehab program that he has that helps veterans, but it's Christian. And he'd been putting ads on Google for years, and then finally Google rejected an ad, and they said it was because the word Christian was in there.
Amazing.
So they took out the word Christian and they ran the ad in the tags, right? The tags, you can tag things. He said, I want you to run an experiment, because what they said was, we don't allow advertisement based on religion. So he said, I want you to put in the word Muslim just as a tag, and they accepted it. So that is Christian phobia right there.
And I think that that's the best thing you're going to be able to use to call it, Christian phobia.
So in 95 days, we will leave the EU. Of that, there shall be no doubt, the Chancellor wrote in an article for The Telegraph, in an apparent effort to reassure Brexit voters previously assured no less than 108 times that the United Kingdom would be out of the European Union on March 29th, but ultimately let down. Now, it's very interesting because I'm going to show you an article where Rees-Mogg is this right-hand man, and he has a list of words you're not allowed to use. He's bringing back a little bit of poshness, a little bit of grammar correction, so that people don't promise things that they can't deliver on. It's very interesting, but I'm going to get to that. Yes, we want to leave with a good deal, one that abolishes the undemocratic backstop, but we should not shy away from the fact that currently the EU is refusing to make any changes to the withdrawal agreement. That is why this government is turbocharging preparations to leave with no deal, and that is why I have ordered an immediately stepping up of no deal preparations in the Treasury. In my first day of office as Chancellor, I tasked officials to urgently identify where more money needs to be invested to get Britain fully ready to leave on October 31st, deal or no deal. And next week, I will be announcing significant extra funding to do just that. Chancellor Javid indicated that some priorities had already been identified and that he would look to recruit 500 extra border force officers and launch a major nationwide communications campaign to get people and business no deal ready in time for the deadline. I think that there really is something happening here. I'm excited to see this. I mean, Boris Johnson, I believe he probably would like to stay on as prime minister. And so he knows that his head is right there on the chopping block. Yeah. It's literally in the guillotine.
Well, do you remember when Nigel said that he can either be Boris Johnson's best friend or his worst enemy?
Exactly.
And I think that Boris Johnson is choosing best friend.
Mm-hmm. It's also clear that an economic strategy was being prepared to not only mitigate a short-term disruption of a no deal, but to take advantage of the opportunities it would bring. Given no deal would leave Britain with few obligations to the EU and maximum freedom of action on taxation, trade, competition, state aid, and more, as well as return the EU-controlled national resources such as the fisheries.
That's huge.
So it actually could, if they catch the wave, it could ride him all the way in, okay? Like Hammond, the 49-year-old son of Pakistani migrants originally backed Remain in the 2016 referendum, but far more reluctantly than most, telling voters he would be voting Remain with a heavy heart and no enthusiasm. And it was clear now that the United Kingdom should never have joined the European Union in the first place, but that, on balance, leaving was too risky. For me, this referendum does not have to be a once-in-a-generation event. To fight for reform is not over, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see where that goes, but I'm really excited because we have Australia and Trump jumping to the front of the line. So there literally is a kind of a fight here because
it's competition.
It's a competition, but not only that, I think there's a spiritual thing. Like you want to help your brother out. Like, hello, we're leaving the European Union. We don't like them. Right. We know they're totalitarian. We know so we're going to make this happen. And guess what? Britain and the United States, even after the Revolutionary War, were giant trade partners. Yeah. And they kept things going. And in large part because our founding fathers and even the people back in Britain were very magnanimous, and they were level-headed, and they didn't hold, I mean, seriously, you could think that they would hold grudges, but they don't. And a lot of people in Britain, even during the Revolutionary War, didn't want to fight in the Americas. Let them have their freedom.
Exactly.
And so my point is that America and Great Britain, we've been the strongest allies since the inception of our country, even though we fought them and had a Revolutionary War. Yeah. But even that, so how much more now?
But in all honesty, though, the reason for that is that we're like brothers.
Yeah, cousins, more like.
But we are cut from the same cloth. I mean, a lot of Americans are
Our law is the foundation of the best of British law. Unfortunately, y'all didn't adopt it as well as we did because, monarchy cool and everything, but doesn't allow for a lot of freedom. Lords and all that stuff doesn't offer a lot of freedom. But here's the thing. Trump says British-American trade will be 5 times bigger with post-Brexit deal.
Wow.
U.S. President Donald Trump has revealed that his administration is already working on a trade deal with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, which he predicts will boost British-American trade by 3, 4, perhaps 5 times. It's going to be big. Bigly.
Huge.
The United States... Yeah, there you go. Huge. The United States is already the United Kingdom's single biggest trade and investment partner and most important security partner. But the British government has been unable to supercharge. We have a lot of these turbocharge words going around. We need supercharge. The special relationship with the U.S. I know. I wonder if they wrote the same article with the U.S. That was Javid's. He said turbocharge. Was his quote. So the special relations with the UK with a trade deal because the European Union does not allow its member states to conduct an independent trade policy. International trade, like territorial fishing waters, agriculture policy, and much of the regulatory environmental concerning goods. And Michelle was like, what the one thing you didn't like in his speech?
Well, because he was talking about GMOs and bringing that to the
That's one
the
thing
UK.
I do think that you guys in Europe are doing good on. You got to protect your people. You don't bring in don't petition this guy. Don't bring in GMOs. You'll never get out because guess what? You think that you're allowing some sort of capitalism and free trade, or you're just allowing the market to take care of itself. No, because
you're allowing companies to come in and kill you.
Monsanto is now owned by Bayer, and guess what? You're literally will be it is the EU because Bayer just bought Monsanto. Monsanto has the GMO patent for the GM corns and things like that. And remember, Bayer guys, they go all the way back to Bayer was started by the same guys, I.G. Farben, who gassed the Jews, who wanted the European Union. So
hang on, though, but
Monsanto,
let's point
Bayer,
out
European
why
Union.
it would be that the European Union would not want and would be the ones to not allow GMOs and yet be more than happy for them to be spread around the world. It's because they know what it is.
Exactly. They don't want it in their food.
It's like Bill Gates, or who is it? It's linked to Bayer, that won't let his kids get vaccines or something like that. Like, these people, they know. It's one of those uppy people. They all know what's going on, and so it makes total sense that the European Union is the Frankenstein reinvented of the Nazis.
Right.
And so they know exactly what's in the GMOs, and they don't want it for their people, but they want it for everybody else. So don't allow Boris Johnson to then come and bring it into your country, because it's still just as deadly, you know, regardless of capitalism.
So here's Donald Trump. He says, we are already working on a trade agreement. President Trump told members of the press at the White House, adding that he believed it would be a very substantial trade agreement. You know, we can do, with the UK, we can do 3, 4, 5 times. We are actually impeded by the relationship with the European Union. We were very much impeded on trade, and I think we can do 3 or 4 times what we're doing. We don't do the kind of trade we could do with what some people say is Great Britain. Some people say is Great Britain. And some people remember a word that you don't hear much is the word England, which is a piece of it.
Right.
He added as something of an aside, seemingly a somewhat cryptic reference to what was the largest of Britain's home nations has been increasingly erased from public discourse. The president said he believes Boris Johnson has what it takes to be a great prime minister, adding pointedly that the British needed him for a long time, like an allusion to the Americans' low opinion of Theresa May's handling of Brexit. The president also praised Queen Elizabeth II as he admired, as much admired, and by his mom. So let's see here.
He's a good guy. He's a friend of mine. I think we're going to have a great relationship. And Boris is going to be a great prime minister. I predict he will be a great prime minister. He has what
Hey, YouTubey. Come on.
it takes. They needed him for a long time. UK needed him for a long time. And let's see what happens. Yeah, he and I will spend a lot of, we just spent a lot of time when I was with the Queen in one of the great, most beautiful couple of days that I've ever experienced. She's a tremendous woman, incredible woman. We got along very well. So Boris and I just spoke. I congratulated him, and he's all set to go. He's going to be, I think he'll do a great job. We're working already on a trade agreement, and I think it'll be a very substantial trade agreement. You know, we can do, with the UK, we can do 3 to 4 times. We were actually impeded by their relationship with the European Union. We were very much impeded on trade, and I think we can do 3 to 4, 5 times what we're doing. We don't do the kind of trade we could do with what some people say is Great Britain, and some people remember a word you don't hear too much is the word England, which is a piece of it. But with the UK, we could do much, much more trade, and we expect to do that, okay?
I think that he just exemplified something that we've been talking about. Leah, you're not plugged into the internet if you want to be.
Oh, okay.
That we've been talking about since our own union with you guys, and that is the fact that I grew up and the UK was just called England.
Yep.
I'm sorry. It was in our history books, it was England. We hardly, and if you called it anything, you called it Great Britain. But the United Kingdom is a phrase that we never use.
No, it's something
Ever.
you guys have us use, so we just use
All right, I
it
gotta
just
go.
for
All
you.
right, we love you guys. God bless.
I was cold.